When you look at the likes of John Cena literally yelling to his ring partner the move that he's about to do next, or listen to one of the garbage fairy tale promos cut by the next generic babyface of the company, you'd be forgiven for thinking that wrestling is anything but subtle. It's a business that operates on boos and cheers and very rarely goes anywhere in the middle. And one can't really blame them for that, seeing as there's rarely a payday in making the public go, yay? However, that doesn't mean that there aren't subtleties within the locker room themselves, as time and again ring performers have hidden signs and incorporated slogans into their packaging that are really actually clever. So let's stimulate the brain cells a little before they're inevitably knocked out of our head by 50-50 booking. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 tiny details about wrestling characters you never noticed. Number 10. Little Spike's Acid Drop. In the WWE, Spike Dudley's finish was renamed the Dudley Dog, and an entire generation of fans reared on ECW grit wondered why. You see, before this stint, it was labelled the Acid Drop, and it led many to accept that it was just part of the anti-drug image that the WWE wanted to maintain. However, the real question is, why was it called the Acid Drop to begin with? Well, to slip into my Miller suit for a second, here's why. It's to do with, I'm not going to do that, it's to do with his name actually, as technically his full title is Little Spike Dudley. Isolate the first letters of each word and it spells out LSD, which is otherwise known as the powerful hallucinogenic drug acid. Ding ding ding, there's your answer. This was also incorporated into his in-ring look with tie-dye clothing similar to his brother's, but with possibly even more colour infused into his clothes. And it sure made for a sight watching that rainbow arc over the ring for the 100th time as that hoss that he was fighting lobbed him over the ropes and down to the floor. Oof, trippy. Number 9. Goldust's Shattered Dreams. One line of thinking could argue that Goldust's ball-booting Shattered Dreams finish was an allusion to his Hollywood star roots, or the fact that taking a boot to the legacy Juice marbles was indeed one way to shatter one's dreams. However, there is another theory with possibly even more weight than either of these. So at the time, Dustin Rhodes wasn't exactly friendly with his father Dusty. In fact, their relationship had fractured to the point that they weren't even speaking, and so the American Dream found out about his boy's new gimmick second-hand, and apparently was upset at not being informed. Could it be then that the Shattered Dreams was a personal commentary on this broken bond between father and son? Well, looking closely at the Rhodes family reveals more of this sort of thing. Cody's American Nightmare nickname was a reversal of his dad's Dream moniker. Now, we're not saying that the family didn't get on, but the idea of inverting his father's legacy to stand on their own is a compelling thought. Number 8. The USOS Paranoia. Now, this next entry isn't actually one that's visible to the audience, but is still something that is intrinsically tied to the Usos, as it can be found in their theme song. So the Usos theme is arguably one of the most catchy tracks the WWE and CFOs have put out, but thanks to one line in the song, it might actually also be one of the deepest. The line says, "It's not paranoia, it's the Usos." And pay attention to the cadence of the word paranoia and you'll see the hidden message. It's apparently meant to sound like they're saying pair of ANOAT, pair of ANOI, pair of ANOI, which of course is the root name of one of the most prevalent wrestling families of Samoa and the one that Roman Reigns is also a part of. However, the Usos are from the blood brother family of the ANOI, as their surname is Fatu. It seems therefore that the brothers' music is another way of making the audience aware of that distinction. Number 7. Why Brooklyn Brawler wore Yankees gear. So fans who watch WWF programming religiously or turned up early to see dark matches at events will probably remember the stocky build that was the Brooklyn Brawler. Played by Steve Lombardi, this gimmick was enhancement talent at best, but it actually had more depth than you might think. For example, there might actually be a reason why the Brawler always wore New York Yankees gear to the ring. So given the name, it's plausible to think that he would have started scrapping on the streets in Brooklyn. From there, the Brawler would have made his way north across the Brooklyn Bridge into Manhattan. Continuing his epic fight across New York, he would have finally arrived in the Bronx, which as baseball fans know is where the Yankees play their games. Though this kayfabe street fighting journey is completely far-fetched, it is definitely implied. I mean, why else would someone from Brooklyn, where the Dodgers originally played, be so willing to flaunt their rivals on TV? Unless it's implying that he wore their colours in his neighbourhood in order to start fights. It's so strange how such a relatively understated performer could carry such an intriguing backstory. Number 6. Paige's name points to her past. So Paige, while about to undergo a second bout of neck surgery at the time of recording, was a breath of fresh air when it came to her time in the ring. She turned heads, brought with her a confidence that was far beyond her years, and stamped her and her family's name loud across Titan Towers. However, there has often been a questioning as to where her name originated from. Well, the answer, it seems, comes from her family wrestling background. You see, Paige is from the Knight family, who hold a ton of respect on the UK scene, and seeing as the Latin word page roughly means young helper of nobles, it now suddenly makes sense that she was a page to knights when she was younger, as she helped her family set up gear and promotion in her youth. Therefore, it's a lovely homage to carry this name with her and still keep roots firmly planted with her family back across the pond. Number 5. Vanguard 1 is an homage to Matt Hardy's career. So Matt Hardy is a pro when it comes to cooking up clicks, and the moment that he created the broken Matt Hardy angle, it was basically a license to print money for TNA. His ramblings, crazed image, and ability to riff with a straight face about the most stupid of things was utterly brilliant. However, in amongst his boats and lakes and fireworks and graves and riffs on Triple H and Brother Neros and Senor Benjamins and, everything else, there was something more. Vanguard 1. Now this might have, pun incoming, flown over the heads for many, as it wasn't just a silly aside, it was actually a comment on his previous life in the WWE. One of the many reinventions that Matt went through in his career saw him take the mantle of Matt Hardy version 1. Vanguard 1, by extension, is a clever reference to the robotic and tech-focused presentation of this character. It also represents a connection to Matt's lost identity more than fans might imagine. Strangely, despite being a flying object, it's there to ground him in the past. Number 4. Jim Cornette's tennis racket. Every good manager has a prop. Jimmy Hart had his megaphone, Paul E. Dangerously had his ludicrously oversized cell phone, Mr. Fuji had his cane, Bobby Heenan had his brain, and your mum, well, she's got that greased up cucumber and those crotchless trousers, because after all, when you're the best, your gimmick is eternal. Also, that is my one per list. But Jim Cornette, as most people might know, randomly had a tennis racket. Now, it might seem weird at first, but it's actually quite logical when you mine down into it. In promos, Cornette often talked about his privileged upbringing as a child. His original character was actually an out-of-his-depth dope who couldn't keep a client for love nor money. He was inept to the point of embarrassment before eventually finding his feet. Therefore, at ringside, the racket was a nice equalizer to protect himself from babyfaces and fans alike. It's actually deceptively smart though. Why wouldn't the spoiled son of a rich country club owner from Kentucky carry around a customized piece of sporting equipment that made him look so disgustingly middle class? The racket wasn't just a weapon, it was a symbol of his spoon-fed background to boot. Number 3. Why does Ric Flair go to the top rope? It's easy to watch literally any Ric Flair match and laugh as he repeatedly goes to the top rope, gets caught by his opponent and absorbs a bump that he's taken thousands of times on the same hip. Why, oh why, you cry at the screen, is the Nature Boy a 16-time world champion no less, such an idiot who falls to the same trap constantly? Well, because it's actually a reference to the time that he went high to win his very first world title. So back in September 1981, Flair beat Dusty Rhodes to become the new NWA champion in Kansas City. Footage of the match shows that Rick, annoyed that Rhodes had escaped his figure 4 by reaching for the ropes, scaled the corner turnbuckle and found himself stranded. Then, in a nice spot, he reversed a suplex attempt into a pin for the victory. After finding success by going to the top, Flair kept trying it again and again throughout his career in the hopes that it paid dividends again. This wasn't just Rick's way of giving his bouts a flashy spot that would lead to a babyface shine, it was actually a cool peek back to his original triumph. Number 2. The Sharpshooter's shape. Bret Hart's Sharpshooter has been adapted and used by pretty much everyone from his brother Owen and niece Natalia to Cesaro and even The Rock. Well, even though that last one wasn't really applied in the way that made the Hitman happy, although there's very little that makes the Hitman happy, so he's kind of the assassination of fun. However, it's not just a mood that this man kills, I kid, I actually do love him really, as his signature move has actually been claimed to carry an extension of his moniker, the Hitman. So legend has it that the shape of his opponent's legs are meant to mimic crosshairs, thereby extending the image that he truly is the excellence of execution. And number 1, Cesaro's Neutralizer. When he's not using the Sharpshooter himself, Cesaro finishes off rivals with his Neutralizer. It's little more than a variation of the front slam or Triple H's pedigree, and yet there's a covert meaning to the name itself. So traditionally, Switzerland's foreign policy is to remain neutral during times of war. This stretches back to the Treaty of Paris that became established in 1815, and it has become identifiable with the sovereign state. Therefore, Cesaro's finisher is actually a cheeky nod towards that neutrality. It's quite odd, therefore, that all this peace building that the Swiss are known for is pretty much destroyed by Cesaro's actions in the ring, but he couldn't have called it the Cesaro Slam now, could he? Oh god, I'm actually glad he didn't do that. Oh god, what if Vince hears this and does change it? Oh god! And there we go, those were 10 tiny details about wrestling characters you probably never noticed. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and let me know down below any more details that I might have missed that you might have picked up on, because I may return to do this or a commenters edition further down the line. But before we go, and you go off and smash today, whatever you get up to, and I hope that you do bloody well at whatever it is that you are getting up to today, I just want to say one thing. There are tiny, tiny facets of every single character on this list that we've explored, but it just shows that there's a greater depth to each and every one of us out there. And as such, I just want to say you don't have to present to the world an image of you being indestructible or unbeatable. Sometimes life is going to beat us down, and sometimes life is going to be unfair and cruel and harsh. I just want to say that there is no shame in asking for help sometimes, because if you need help, trust me, people care way more than you might realise. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me at RetroJ over on Twitter. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.